Happy Wednesday! It's hump day, and actually, I'm not working Friday, so today is really my Thursday, which I call Friday Eve. It's really confusing, but it makes sense in my heart. All I know is I got a 3-day weekend coming up, and I am so ready for it. Anyway, John chapter 4. Sometimes, I literally woke up this morning with this one little phrase on my heart, and it was, I must need go to Samaria. It's like, I knew where it was at and what it was about, but I'm like, Jesus, why is that on my heart? So it's in John chapter 4, and this is the New King James Version. So John chapter 4, verse 4 says, but he needed to go through Samaria. But if verse 3 says, so it's talking about Jesus, he left Judea and departed again to Galilee. And verse 4 says, but he needed to go through Samaria. So I went to go, I've heard it preached before, so I understood that the Jews and Samaritans, they didn't get down like that. They didn't like each other. So, but I needed to look at a map. I wanted to see the location. So I'm looking at the map, and you have Judea, Samaria, Galilee. In that order, straight line. What's the problem? It'll be like going from Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Antioch, Nashville, whatever, like that. But yeah, so I'm like, well, I know that the shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line. But because of their pride and their prejudices, the straight line wasn't what made sense. What made sense to them and what was customary for them was to go around Samaria, not go through Samaria, even though that was a shorter route. But Jesus was like, I need to go through Samaria. And of course, that's because he needed to meet with the woman at the well. She needed to hear his voice. She needed to know that she was loved. She needed correction, but she needed redemption also. So he went through Samaria. He broke tradition to go get what she needed to her. Now let's bring it on home. On Sunday, my pastor was just preaching about how a lot of times it's awkward being a Christian. If you really live out the word of God, if you really make it a point to operate in righteousness, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Point blank, period. That's what it is. And in the Bible it says, narrow is the gate and straight is the way. So that straight line is the Jesus line. And a lot of times we're the ones that want to get out of order. We want to go all around the mulberry bush. And if God told us from the very beginning, I'm going to take you from here to here this way, we'd be like, you know what? I'm not going at all. How about that? So he has to kind of take us all around the mulberry bush. Like when Moses, he had to take him out of Egypt to the backside of the desert only to bring him back to Egypt. But there were things that he had to learn in the desert that he wouldn't have learned in Egypt. So he had to go all around the way. Whereas if we didn't have to wrestle so much with our pride, with thinking we knew all the answers, with fears, with all these other things, we probably could just automatically go from point A to point B with a straight line and be okay. But we're not a straight line kind of people. Typically, some things have to be worked out of us and some things have to be worked in us so that the will of God can be performed in our lives. So thankfully, Jesus was willing to break tradition and say, you know what? I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go through Samaria. I remember when I used to live in Jackson, Tennessee, and I lived there for 3.5 years. And those were some of the most, probably like some of the most isolated and just tough years of my life. Like things were good, and as far as like, I guess like I really liked the townhouse that I lived in. I didn't like my job, but I was good at it and the money was good. But my church was like an hour and 15 minutes away. And so I would drive that every Wednesday and I would drive that every Sunday. And it just, being in that place and like going through like some relational issues with different friends and stuff, being in that place really tried me, stretched me, purified me. But I knew that that wasn't where God was going to settle me ultimately. But it was like, but I must need to go here. I need to go here. I need to be here. And I didn't fully understand why, really, until I was out of that place. And then I got more of an understanding. Like I could see that God used that to really develop my faithfulness, my obedience, my willingness to serve, those type of things. So once I was out of it, I understood. And Samaria was the non-traditional place. That wasn't the normal route. But Jesus went there because there was work to be done. Like, he'll leave the 99 and go after one. He went after that one. It was that one woman at the well that needed a word, so he made sure that he went to the well so he could meet with her, so that he could give her the word that she needed, and that completely changed her life. The Lord, your God, is coming straight for you. I don't care where you at. You could be in the non-traditional place. You could be in a place where everybody else has counted you out. The world has counted you out. The church has counted you out. Your family done counted you out. But God is coming straight for you. Because regardless of how everybody else sees you, feels about you, whatever, he still loves you. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son for you. For your salvation, for your redemption, for your restoration. So I don't care if you are in the non-traditional place, he's coming straight for you. He's bypassing the normal route and he's coming for you. I don't even know how I got there. That was not a part of my mental notes, but apparently you needed it, so receive it. It's for you. Happy Wednesday. The Lord is coming for you. He's standing at the door of your heart and knocking. Go ahead and let him on in. He's here for you. He's bucking tradition, and he's coming straight for you. Open the door and let him in. Believe with your heart, confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and you shall be saved. Have a happy Wednesday.